Hello, hello. Welcome back to Talk with Sharifa. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa, and my music name is New Lily. If you're new to my channel, please check out my How I Became a Targeted Individual summary and or full story. And the links to both of those videos are located in the description box as well as in the comment section. So in this video, guys, again, just talking about the targeted individual phenomenon. It's weird because I know it seems like I go back and forth, for those of you that have been following me for a while, because it's really been a journey with this YouTube channel. I started posting, officially posting, that is, because I actually genuinely started posting years ago. My first ever YouTube video was posted when I still lived in Tallahassee and was in my early 20s. I did that at age, I believe I was, if I'm not mistaken, 22 when I did my first YouTube video, around that age, very early 20s. And I had started my first lock journey. I've been on a natural hair journey since my early 20s, and I've gone back and forth between natural loose hair and, locks. I've had locks 3 times now. And the third time was the longest. I had grown the longest, but now I'm again back to being a loose natural. But my first ever YouTube video was posted at about age 22 with my first lock journey. And I didn't keep up with it. I kept the locks in for half a year, and then eventually I missed my hair, and so I ended up combing out the locks. And so I took that video down. But some of my subscribers actually came from that community. When I first started posting videos again recently with my targeting, I already had 50 subscribers. So I did start out with a following, and that was that community, the natural hair / dreadlock community. So not all of my followers or subscribers are from the targeted individual community. That's why I'm so anal with these videos, and I like to make sure that I'm clearly explaining things, and then also too that I'm directing people to my story. So that way, if I am talking to or somebody that's not from the targeted individual community is listening to my video, then they'll understand the jargon that I use, because sometimes I do use terminology specific to the targeted individual community. And then also too, let's just be honest and real, unless somebody's a gang stalker or a target, then they don't know about this community. I never knew about this community. I just learned about it last year. I've been targeted since 2020. If you're familiar with my story, then you know what I'm talking about. My targeting started in 2020, but I didn't learn about this community or this program until last year, the end of last year. So although I've been targeted for 3 years, I just learned about being a target and this community last year. And obviously this is something that's been going on for years. They're ramping and amping it up, and actually that's what this video is about. It's getting worse. You're having more incidences of targeting, but it's been going on for years, from my understanding, since the 50s, probably longer than that. And actually, I do know that it has been going on longer than that because, you have people talking about, the targeting starting in the 50s and then practicing with the MK Ultra technology. But this program is actually, you could say, a copycat program. The COINTELPRO that you're seeing all these different governments using, it's literally a version of, and I've said this in several of my prior videos, the Nazi. Whoa, my brain just went blank, guys. And they can do that with this technology. Let me say that again. This program that you're seeing in these different governments that's being ramped up now or amped up, it's an emulation of the Stasi Nazi East German bloc government system. And so initially that program was designed obviously for control. But what they were doing was they were using it against civilians that they felt were too outspoken, or civilians that they felt were out of line. So civilians that they felt were possibly too free thinking and liberal and could possibly cause a problem for them because they were, I guess, riling up people. So not just themselves, but they were posting things about, going against that government. Remember, that government system was somewhat totalitarian. You could basically say that, authoritarian. And you didn't really have rights in that government system. So basically I guess you could say political activists of that time, similar to what the program's used for now, those type of people were being targeted. And so this is where you had this all-out assault, covert and sometimes overt assault on the person's life. And so what they do is, you know how this program works if you're a target, basically just completely encompass that person. So they're gang stalked by multiple people. What makes it more disturbing is not just government officials stalking you or covertly harassing you. It's also community members. So it'll be people not necessarily. Sometimes it's just community members. But oftentimes when you're targeted, it is also people you know. So that can be disturbing and psychologically mess with you as well. It's psychological warfare. That's what it is. It's extremely advanced psychological warfare. And obviously it crosses into the territory of physical as well with some of the technology that they have. So it's not just psychological, but they also they mix the two. So it's psychological and physical. If I were to throw out figures, and I'm just throwing out my own figures basically from my research and my own personal experience, I would say that the program is 70% psychological and 30% physical, because there are physical things that they're doing to you. But part of the physical helps them with the psychological, because remember, like for instance, the nanobots in the RFID chip that's injected into targets, that helps them to connect to your nervous system and hook your brain up to a computer system where they can more accurately psychologically torture you. So it helps with the psychological, but that's the physical part of it. Or, the scarier part, I wouldn't say scarier, it's equal. The energy weapons they have, they can hit you with microwave weapons. They have different weapons that they can use. They have weapons for active, something called active denial, where they can hit you. So they have different things that they can use, and it's really scary what happens to a target. Anyway, so I'm going off on a tangent. So this is why I make sure in these videos that I'm very clear about what I'm saying, because I know that my viewers aren't always from the targeted individual community. And I still have new viewers coming in because I do have different content on my page. I even said that with the first targeted individual video I created in December. I said that this was not a niche channel. So I made sure to tell you all that I wouldn't just be posting targeted individual information, that I would also be posting other things going on with me. At the time, I was trying to become a programmer. So I was letting y'all know that you might hear videos about me becoming a programmer, and I told you I was going to be doing natural health videos. I didn't even mention my music back then in that initial video because that just wasn't something on my mind. I felt like I had more pertinent things to discuss, but also too, you can see that from what it looks like, the first video that's posted are music videos. And that's when I started recording and basically recording my poetry. I've been writing poetry for years, but I went to the studio, and I'm not going to tell the story again. I've already told it several times in my summary, in my full story, and then I even referenced it in some of my other videos that followed those videos. But anyways, back then, around 2019, there was this opportunity that was presented to my brother-in-law because he's Hebrew, and he was talking to some Hebrews from up north. And so they were coming down and they knew he did music. And so they decided to get together and pay for studio time. And so he knew that my sister and I did music as well. Not really music. I wouldn't even say music. I just write poetry. And then to decide to do freestyle rapping. I've done it my whole life. Never took it serious. But the point is, he knew we were into music, and so he invited us to come. So I'm not going to go into the details of that story again. I'm trying hard not to do that in this video. I keep doing that. But basically, that's how I started recording. So you can see around 2019, I think it was June of 2019, you can see the first two videos on my YouTube. From what you can see is my music videos. But I actually started and created my YouTube in my early 20s for my lock journey. So that's why my initial subscribers, there were about 50 or 60 of them, came from the dreadlock community, natural hair community, because that was why I created my YouTube. Of course, I used to go on YouTube all the time like everyone else. I look at videos and stuff, but I was never trying to post, until I got dreadlocks and I noticed that I was seeing all these beautiful lock journeys on YouTube. I was like, hey, I want to do this, and so I decided to try it. And of course, me being inconsistent, ADD, I never kept up with my lock journey. And that's been me throughout the years. Like I said, I had 3 different lock journeys. And every time I never stuck through with it. And it's not just, I wouldn't say it's just inconsistency. It's also, even though I like routine, because I really do, with my hair, I tend to get bored. That's the one, I would say, area of my life where I like to switch things up, and not totally either. I'm not even like one of those really adventurous people that likes to try different hair colors and this and that. Not really. I stick to my black hair. But when I say adventurous, I just mean it as in styling. Like sometimes I get bored with my hair, my natural loose hair, especially when it starts to get long. It's like I want to slap myself too because my hair was so long in my early 20s. That's the longest it's ever been. And when I did stupidness and I put heat into my hair, and basically damage my hair. This is what I keep doing. I keep putting heat, flat iron and not really taking care of it, and making sure that I'm doing it the right way. And I keep getting heat damage and having to chop off most of my hair. So what I did back then was I did a big chop. I'm going off on a tangent, but I did do a big chop after my initial lock journey. So the one that made me start my YouTube. I ended up doing not a big chop. I combed the locks out. So I combed the locks out, went back to my natural hair. And then I ended up flat ironing my hair and getting heat damage. And so then that's when I did a big chop. Started the journey over, right? The natural hair journey. Then I ended up getting locks again in my mid 20s. Had that for about 2 years. Chopped it again, right? So it's just like this thing where I keep doing that and then I let my hair grow back. And so I was on that natural hair journey for a while, for a long time too. Actually, my hair was getting really long. And then recently when I came home and became targeted, my hair had so much damage from me using heat over the years, right? It had been years since I had cut it. And I ended up just recently I want to say like time is flying with everything that's going on. You would think that it would be going slow with the fact that I'm, at this point kind of immobile, but it's flying by. Time is flying, right? But it was about, I want to say 4 to 5 months ago. I'm not saying the exact amount of months. I think it was like 4 to 5 months ago. I chopped off about 5 to 7 inches of my hair because I had so much heat damage. And so basically you could say I almost did a big chop, but not quite. I still left a good bit of my hair back because not all of it was damaged. I had started reverting my hair back and I stopped putting heat, the flat iron on it. And I started doing like protein treatments and different things like that to get my hair health back. And so, like I said, about 4 to 5 months ago, I chopped off 5 to 7 inches of my hair and kind of, you could say a little bit started over, not totally. But so this is what's going on now. So my hair's doing really well. It's growing back quickly. But that was, I went off on a tangent. Y'all know I can do that. And I will keep pointing it out. Now that I'm more so on this ADD, thing, and I'm talking about it and trying to point it out and also show you what it's like to be a woman living with that disorder. Part of that is me going off on tangents. I know y'all have noticed it in my videos, but I never pointed out. I will say like, oh, went off on a tangent and I'll pull myself back. But now every time it happens, I'm going to say, see, that's what ADD does, right? So you see it happen. It keeps happening. Anyway, this is not what this video is about. I'm not supposed to be talking about natural hair or any of that stuff, So this is, I don't mind though, because with these videos, it's not like there's any specific rules where I have to stick to the plan of what I'm going to talk about and I can't talk about other stuff. That's not the case, So it's like I can speak about what I want to speak about. It's funny when I did that, when I said that I started hearing music in the background. This program is so crazy. Normal, like regular human antics that a regular human has, or you have different inflections in your voice, like a normal human, or you itch your head a certain way, or you move your body a certain way, or you say something, or you think a regular thought, like just regular things. You hear noise campaign for it. It's really a very efficient psychological covert torture harassment program. It's extremely efficient, and that's why you see a lot of targets not really do okay in the program if they don't understand how it works and they don't figure out how to maneuver with it, right? But anyway, so let me get back to the point. So this video is me basically just talking again about the targeted individual content matter, because although in my recent videos I did say I was trying to steer away from that, I started to get backlash or whatever the case was. I did steer away from it, and I started talking about positive things and trying to almost, I don't want to say gaslight, but almost gaslight myself to the point where I wasn't even trying to acknowledge what's happening. I was more so on that beat, like, well, if I don't focus on it and I focus on the positive, I take accountability for bearing false witness and what I believe started this thing. Again, I still am of the belief that it's something deeper going on here. But at the same time, too, I do realize that I'm giving it power every time I say that. So let me very quickly say this, too. I denounce all witchcraft, and I denounce all wicked plans against my life. I denounce it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, in the name of Yeshua Bahasham HaMashiach. And I'm sorry that I stammered on that. I heard noise in the background, and that's what made me freeze. but I denounce all witchcraft. And I just wanted to say that before I continue, because something very heavy is going on. And I told y'all about it in my story, right? If you check on my last video, in that video, you can see this girl, this young lady named Bella, that's a target as well, that's talking about how this program is literally witchcraft. And of course it is. If you're a believer in the Bible, I don't want to push my beliefs on you, then you'll be familiar with Revelations and what Revelations depicts the end times is going to be like. So understand this program being the source of what's enacting the New World Order. Obviously you have to know that it's wicked, right? So then obviously it would be tied in with witchcraft and those type of things. That's not surprising. I even saw recently too, when I started looking into those videos again, and I had to stop myself, but it was just like too much weird stuff happening again. I said, nah, something stopped me and I need to start looking into these videos again and see what's going on and see what information I can find, because they literally were able, and it's really the higher ups that's running everything, they were literally successfully able to scare me out of looking into this stuff and figuring out what's going on, because I know something's going on. But I started looking into it again, and I even saw that the flies, they didn't even talk about this program. They weren't talking about this program. I was just looking into signs of witchcraft, and I saw that if you're seeing flies, constant flies, that's a sign of witchcraft. And so I was just like, oh my gosh. And they said it's like a monitoring spirit that's carrying information. I said, what? When I saw that, because if y'all are familiar with my videos, and some of y'all know this information already, it's not like you learned it from me, but some of y'all did learn it from me. But part of this program is 24-hour surveillance, of course, and they use insect drones. They use mosquito drones, real mosquitoes. There's this video I shared in I think it was the last video I posted, the witchcraft video. Before I shared Bella's video, I was sharing a short clip of a military video where they showed you how they create these drones. So they're using real insects, and basically during the pupa stage of the insect, so when the insect is developing, this is some high science technology. Don't think these people are that smart. They're getting this from spirits. But anyway, so they took the probes and they put it into the brain of the insect. And so they were able to basically connect the insect's brain to a computer, right? So similar to what they're doing to targets and what they plan to do to everyone else, what they hope to do. Of course, the Mossad is going to come and stop that. But this is their plan. And they're doing it on targets first. We're basically, like I said, the control group. I'm going to get there in a minute. But anyways, that's what they're doing with the drones also. So they're using this technology on the drones, on the insects, real insects. And they're hooking them up to a computer system, computer to brain interface. And this is how they're controlling the insects. So it looks like real mosquitoes. It looks like real gnats. It looks like real dragonflies, because it is real. It is real. They are real. They are real bugs. And they're just being hooked up with this technology to computer systems and being controlled, remote controlled, similar to what they could do to you. It's really scary stuff. Anyway, so, because I'm going off on a tangent, this video is getting to be too long, and I'm not meaning for that to happen. So my point of telling y'all about my initial videos to now is me basically just saying again that although I said I was going to stop posting this content matter, and I was going to try to focus more on being positive, and posting positive content matter, of course the program has continued. It hasn't stopped. There has been no leeway, and it's injustice. And I'm not going to be silenced because of fear mongering when I don't deserve what's happening to me. So of course I'm going to speak out about it, and I'm going to provide the evidence that I found. I found out so much information about this thing that I wish I had known sooner. I really wish I had known sooner. But at the same time, I'm trying to be careful. Give me a second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. If you have been watching my more recent videos, if you're not new to my channel, you'll have heard me say that I did move to a new house. So basically, the room I'm in now is right next to the front porch. So when anyone comes home, you'll hear all that noise happening on the porch. So that's why I stopped and I paused the video. But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent anyways. I mean, I wanted to say everything that I said, but I'm kind of going too deep into things that are irrelevant, and it's kind of getting long-winded, and I want to make sure I get to the point of the video, and I don't want this video to be super long, like how my videos typically end up being by accident. I was just basically trying to tell y'all that I've been posting videos for years. Not consistently, really. It started consistently when I realized that I was a target. But I've been posting, well, I posted one video in my early 20s, where I was doing my lock journey. I posted, I think, 2 videos. And then I was planning to wait a few months to let my hair catch, and I was going to do more videos. And then once a half a year passed, I ended up combing out my locks. And then I didn't post another YouTube video again until 2019, where I got that opportunity via my brother-in-law to record my poetry. And so I have 2 videos posted. There were actually 3. But when my targeting started, I took the third one down because it was too controversial with what's going on. You know, it wasn't really anything bad. It was something that everyone on campus was writing about. But at the moment, with what's going on, and I explained this in my prior video, so I'm not going to go into details about that, it was too awkward having that video up. So I took it down. So you only see 2 videos posted, really, from back then. And then about a year later, you see a video with my guitar. When I purchased my guitar, I was planning to teach myself guitar. I've ordered guitars throughout the years, and I've always taught myself the bare minimal, and then I'm never consistent enough to keep up with it. And typically when I'm not targeted, I'm working multiple jobs, and I'm doing school, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. And then to boot, I have ADD. So even when I take on ventures that I'm genuinely interested in, I can easily lose focus or interest. And so that's what it's been like with the guitar for me. That's the one instrument that I've owned that I didn't ever truly know how to play. You know, I know how to do like a little few stuff, you know, and I do have an ear for music to the point where I can listen to something and play it without really knowing the notes or understanding what I'm playing. But I don't really know how to play the guitar like that. I can do like very bare minimal things. So you'll see that video as well after my 2 poetry videos. I think that video was like a year after, but I didn't keep up with it. And I've had like 3 different guitars, and I always lose, you know, I'll teach myself a little bit, and I'll start getting, you know, like the hang of it a little bit, and then I lose interest. And so that was the case with my guitar. But those are the 3 videos you'll see posted, and then it'll be years. You'll see years go by, and then you'll all of a sudden start seeing videos, you know, and it's poetry videos because the videos that were posted before the poetry videos got deleted. So the initial video was actually that I started posting recently was last year, the end of last year, when I realized I was a target. So again, I reiterate, I've been dealing with this since 2020. That was when my targeting started. But I did not realize that I was a target, nor that this was some sort of government program until the end of last year. And so when I realized that, me being me, you know how people with Asperger's are, I started to hyper focus on it. And actually, people with ADD are like that too. But I started to hyper focus on it. And then, of course, this is directly affecting my life. So let me not even mention the mental diagnoses that I have. I think anybody that's in this predicament starts to look into these things really intently because it's directly affecting your life, and it's this weird phenomenon that you never heard of. So I started doing a lot of research and looking into stuff, like really digging for months. Remember, I told y'all I learned about this at the end of last year. We're now in August. So it's been almost a year of me doing research and stuff. And you could say I'm almost a professional when it comes to this stuff. Not really. There's so much more that I'm sure that I don't know, but I know a lot now. And so I've been trying to share what I know with my subscribers. But like I said, it did start to kind of cause backlash for me. And for me, I was thinking, I don't even deserve to be in this program anyways. Eventually it's going to stop. You know, it's just a text message. You're just trying to teach me a lesson. But it just keeps going further and further and getting crazier and crazier and gnarlier and gnarlier. And then when I try to rein it back and actually really try to, you know, it's almost like I want to say gaslight myself, because I try to not talk about what's happening, you know, like this kind of weird thing that, you know, that they expect of targets for you not to really talk about what's happening, but it's happening and your life is completely and totally affected by it. That's what's going on. And I was just like, nah, man, because then I realized recently it's like, I'm even having difficulty getting a job now. And I saw that it's a slow build and a process with targets. I've been seeing the videos, and everything I've seen has come to pass in my life. It's the weirdest thing ever. Like everything that I see happens to targets, you know, I'd be like, oh God, you know, when I see how bad it can get. And then it's like stages with this program. And every time I see certain things, I end up in that stage of the program. And so now I'm in the stage of the program where it seems like I can't even get a job. You know, that's scary to be in that kind of, to be that helpless. You're already helpless as a target. This program is all encompassing and everyone around you is involved. But then when you can't even help yourself financially, you know how scary that is? Because there are at least certain things you can buy to kind of help yourself a little bit. But if you can't even get a job, you know how scary that shit is? And from what I understand, they do that to a lot of targets. So at first you'll be able to get jobs. Like sometimes they'll make it hard for you to get certain jobs, but you will be able to get some jobs. but you'll be gang stalked and harassed on the job. I've seen many targets talk about this, but the program is designed like that. It's meant to um, disable the target and make the target completely dependent on whoever their handler is. So whoever it is that you're staying with, typically that is your handler. I mean, I know that sounds crazy and hard to believe, but I've seen it from different videos and I realized that that's the case. So it's whoever you're staying with, that's who your handler is. And if you're staying by yourself, oh God, it's really scary then, huh? But I've seen that be the case too sometimes, where you see those are the targets, those ones that are homeless, that they do all kinds of gnarly stuff to, or that live alone. They do a lot of stuff to those targets, especially if those targets are not viral. So like how my targeting is viral, if you listen to my story, you'll hear how that happened. I think there are certain things they just won't do to me because too many people are watching. So low-key, it's a blessing for me. It's terrifying what's going on, and it's like, oh my God, why me? For my thing to be viral? But in a way, I think low-key, it's a blessing in disguise because there are certain things that they're doing. They do a lot of stuff with their technology to targets. And there are certain things I think they won't do to me, at least not full throttle, because so many people are watching. And so that's the low-key blessing for me. But there are other targets I've seen that are, they don't have a handler, so they're living alone, or they're, hopping from homeless shelter to homeless shelter. And they're talking about all these heinous things that are happening to them, and nobody's listening. They're being called schizophrenic. And the doctor in this video I'm about to share is talking about that. That's what I needed to get to, because now I'm gonna get to the main point. Running my mouth like I always do, and taking forever to get to the main point. But if y'all have checked out my CIA DARPA Scientist video, where the DARPA Scientist is basically talking about why you're seeing more and more cases of targeting and why targets are being targeted in the first place, what the agenda is, you'll see him saying, or hear him saying, excuse me, that this program is practice or experimentation before they enact it on the general population. This is the ushering in of the New World Order. So we are in Revelations, if you believe in the Bible. That's the times that we're in right now. So that's why you're experiencing this weird phenomenon and you can't understand it and how it's legal for them to do this. They're doing it. It's legal. And just understand that it's not just a you thing, it's a everyone thing. They're trying to do this to everyone. And so the targets, unfortunately, are just innocent victims that are picked at random, right? Not always. Oftentimes what they're doing is they're picking the undesirables from society. And so when you hear undesirable, you're going to think, okay, so it must be and let me not say this and put my foot in my mouth, but you're going to think, okay, well, it has to be the criminals, right? Or the people that are doing bad things, or no. They're usually typically just like the original program that this program is emulating. They're typically targeting people that are outspoken, people that seem a bit rebellious. And when I say rebellious, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean rebellious against injustice. Sometimes people that say offensive shit, if you said the offensive stuff in defense of yourself, it's still offensive. And people that think outside the box that are saying controversial things. So whistleblowers. So sometimes people like former government agents, such as CIA agents, FBI agents like Ted Gunderson. There was a NASA scientist, I don't remember her name, but she worked for them as well. That's a big classified program. And she was actually one of their scientists, and what they did was they stole her work. And so when they stole her work, she started to blow the whistle on them, and they targeted her. So typically, those are the type of people that you're seeing targeted. There are like 3 categories from what I saw. It's either whistleblowers, so obviously they're considered undesirable by the government. So people that have been a part of classified programs. There are the people that they target out that are nobodies, like myself, that pissed off the wrong person. So all you have to do is literally piss off somebody that had enough pull, and you got thrown in the program. Or the third category, random, completely random. I see so many targets like that they didn't do anything to piss anyone off. They're not a whistleblower. They're literally random, and this shit just started happening on them randomly. And you're seeing a lot of cases like that third category. That's not the case with me. I'm not going to sit here and fake the funk. It's not random. It does feel random because, like I said, it almost feels spiritual. What caused my targeting? It is random in a way because I was really hearing the things that I said I heard. I'm not a liar. That's one thing I'm not. So I was really hearing the things that I thought I was hearing. So maybe I was somebody randomly selected. And those things that I heard in the Airbnbs was my targeting started, and I didn't realize it. And so my family, thinking, oh, it's just Reefy because she's been having issues since her early 20s, thought it was just a Reefy thing, and that's just my nickname. and didn't realize that I had been selected randomly for this program. I don't know. I'm having trouble believing that because my thing wasn't as bad as it is now until I sent that text message. So I don't know. I'm going back and forth with it. And then, there's an element of witchcraft to it. You can check out my last video. So it's like, I don't know. I don't completely understand. And I don't really have all the answers. Only the Most High does. And I guess the people pulling the strings. I'm just learning as I go and I'm sharing what I learn. So it's some sort of weird thing when you get selected. But from what I can tell, and there was a video I had posted, one of the videos that got deleted, where I was sharing this target that had a document, a government document, talking about the three categories of targets that they have. So you have the whistleblowers, so former CIA, FBI, NASA agents such as Ted Gunderson or Eric Snowden. You have those targets that actually have pertinent information to share. Or, I'm always talking about this guy. I'm really a big fan of his. Oh my gosh, what's going on with me? Michael Barden. He used to be in the military. He's not as high class as some of those other people that I mentioned, but that is still somebody that's considered a whistleblower, because he is sharing pertinent information that he learned when he was in the military, to help with this program. So he's considered a whistleblower as well. But there's that category. Then you have the category I'm in. So basically somebody that pissed off somebody in power or multiple people in power. But if you hear my story, you'll hear it's the weirdest way how it started. And so this is where I'm having trouble figuring out if I'm really in the category I'm putting myself in or if I'm in the third category. But then you have the third category, which is people that are targeted at random. So I'm talking about somebody regularly. I couldn't even imagine how I would have felt if this had started out. It did start at random in a way in the Airbnbs. But again, it was this weird thing where it was things that I did that were innocent that created this weird situation for me. I can't explain it. So I keep saying it's witchcraft. And this is what it feels like, but I don't want to keep proclaiming that because the more I believe it and proclaim it with my mouth, the more I'm giving it power. And literally that's what I keep seeing with all of these videos that I look up, that the more you believe it and the more that you say it, the more that it's real. So I need to stop doing that. And I had those words thrown back at me earlier, and I've already been saying that, and it was a reminder for me that I'm giving it power. But I really feel like something is going on in my lack of faith, and then belief in that something attracted it to me. But whatever the case is, whatever started my targeting, it wasn't completely random, like to say I hadn't done anything, nothing at all. Like I'm just literally going about my daily life. And then this thing started happening, like how I see what's happening to a lot of people right now. That third category is actually what comprised what. I'm having trouble with my words, guys. I'm sorry. But this community of targets, majority of us fall into that third category of random selection. And so in that CIA video that I shared with the DARPA Scientist, he explains why that's happening. He said that targeted individuals are the control group. So basically we're being selected, the undesirable, so that's category 1 and category 2, or the innocent random selection, and I'm innocent too. All of us are innocent really, because even the undesirables, the people that are whistleblowing because they find that what they learned was horrible, and wrong, like for instance, Eric Snowden, he basically whistleblowed. He was a whistleblower because he was one of those people that worked with the Patriot Act. So basically, 9/11 happened and then they enacted the Patriot Act. And so he was one of those people that was monitoring and sifting through phone calls. So what they do is they're even this video is being monitored, but every phone call that any American has, and let me not just make it an American thing, they're doing it with all the governments. Remember, this is to enact the New World Order. But anyway, so any phone call that's being had is being recorded and monitored, and you have somebody in a building going through your phone calls, literally looking for keywords to possibly mark you as a terrorist. And so this is what started happening. And Eric Snowden saw a lot of people that were being targeted that didn't deserve it. And so this is why he ended up blowing the whistle. So even whistleblowers are innocent. Most of them are. Ted Gunderson, he was a former FBI agent. He started blowing the whistle because he realized there was a lot of corruption going on. Let me be careful with my words. I'm not anti-government. I'm anti this program. And unfortunately, being a part of this program and learning and doing my research, I'm learning a lot of scary stuff. But still, let me reiterate, I'm not anti-government. I'm anti this program. And unfortunately, it's a government program. And so I'm learning a lot of information. But anyway, so typically your whistleblowers are innocent people too, that are good Samaritans that saw some corruption and decided to speak out about it, and they got targeted. So let me not just say the third category are the only ones innocent. But what I'm saying is your second category where I'm at, you have people that may have pissed off people or said offensive shit, because that was literally my story. I said offensive shit in reaction to what was happening to me. So basically, I didn't bear false witness because I keep saying that I bared false witness. I bared false witness in the past. I did, unintentionally too. Listen to my a targeted individual's plea. Let me show y'all the video because I talked about. There's two videos where I talked about this. So not just in my story where I actually tell you what happened, but then I break down those moments where I bared false witness. Let me show you in two different videos. And I had two different, I came from two different perspectives, right? So this video, this analyzing the law of attraction video, I was straight up taking accountability for bearing false witness and acknowledging the fact that my bearing false witness likely attracted what I feared or what I was accusing people of. But then in this video, a targeted individual's plea for help, I'm also analyzing the fact that, some of the things that I bared false witness for, I had reasonable suspicion, right? So it wasn't like just these meritless accusations. It made sense. Some of these accusations that I made, it was really just how far I took it, and that's where I was wrong because I bared false witness without having concrete evidence, and then I took it far. I'm not far like I was hurting anybody or anything like that, but I did hurt someone with my words, not just someone, several people. But still, it's just like the punishment is not fitting the crime. And so this is what I was talking about in my targeted plea for help. Please check out that video. I talked about a lot of stuff in that video. But anyway, so this third time, though, I'm having trouble believing whether or not, and I analyzed that in that video, a targeted individual's plea for help, where you see me looking down in that video. And I'm not actually on camera. That's actually a thumbnail from a video that I did have posted that got deleted when I still had access to that computer with a good camera. Anyways, I have another thumbnail from that same video that I used for my summary. It was a different clip of me. But literally, I've told y'all this already, and I don't want to go off on a tangent. You can see it there. I stopped posting videos with me on camera because I no longer have access to a computer with a good camera. The camera quality on the computer I have now really sucks. So this is why you're not seeing me on camera as much anymore. I bared it out and I still went on camera for my full story. So you can see I'm there on camera for 12 hours. It's literally a 7-part video compilation that I put together in one video. But all of my other videos are now off camera. And all the videos that got deleted, those of you that have been subscribed, you know what I'm talking about. I was on camera. All of those got deleted. But anyway, so going off on a tangent. So in a targeted individual's plea for help, again, I'm just talking about what I think caused this, like years and years of a lesson I probably didn't learn. But then also too analyzing the fact that, I wasn't totally at fault with some of these accusations I made. And then also too how far things went just doesn't make sense to me. And so me just analyzing and thinking that maybe there's more to it than me just taking accountability and saying, okay, it was me. I think there is more to it. And so this is what I was talking about in that video. And then I even further analyzed this third situation that caused me to become a target when I sent the innocent text message. I literally sent it because I was genuinely hearing stuff in the hallway. I was genuinely hearing people in the hallway. So whether or not they were doing it to gang stalk me or not, that's not the point. The point is that I thought that's what was happening, and I sent a text message. And when I say gang stalk, I didn't know the term gang stalk. I didn't even know about this program, like I said, back then in 2020, when I sent that text message. All I knew was I had just came home. I graduated from college, just came home from 3 Airbnbs where I was dealing with this weird situation, gang stalking activity, but of course I didn't know that was the terminology. That started from innocent situations that didn't even make sense to me. It felt spiritual. I remember it creeping me out. In the second Airbnb, my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, the Colombian guy, James, that I mentioned, he heard it happening too. So it's not like it was me alone. I had someone else that witnessed it. So for that to happen, and them to react the way that they did to the text message, I didn't understand that. Because to me, it could have just been PTSD, if anything. Why would they take it as far as they did? I didn't maliciously send that text message. I literally and I didn't accuse them either. I didn't straight up say, y'all are in the house. Because what happened is, if you listen to my full story and then my a targeted individual's plea for help, you'll hear me talk about the fact that there were certain things going on in the household around that time. And I'm not going to go into the details of it right now. But certain things were happening and it caused some tension in the household. And so then shortly after that happened, I noticed, because I had been staying in that room for about a month with no issues, not sending no text messages or anything, I noticed that whenever I would wake up at night, and I do that all the time, I'm still doing it now, and it's worse now that I'm being targeted. I really have insomnia. But before, what it was I would wake up once or twice at night and I'd go back to sleep. And I saw that that's a symptom of ADD and Asperger's. And I also think it's hereditary because I have a parent that's like that, where he stays up all night sometimes, and doesn't really sleep. So I think it's hereditary. But for me, I don't stay up all night. I do sleep, but I wake up throughout the night once or twice. Nothing major. I've always been like that. But it's never been what's happening now. Now that I'm full throttle targeted, and I know I'm being watched, this is such a weird feeling. You know that you're being watched, and as soon as you wake up, somebody makes a noise to remind you, like you'll hear the cricket or the fake, and it's not a real cricket, like it's an insect drone. You can tell too, it doesn't even sound authentic. Or you'll hear the bird, at that hour of the night, you'll hear the weird bird sound, or you'll hear a gang stalker make a noise. So of course it's hard for you to get back to sleep. It's the weirdest thing ever. So for now, what's happening to me now that I'm being targeted heavily, when I wake up at night, it's like hours sometimes before I go back to sleep. Or if I'm fortunate, I'm able to get back to sleep a little bit sooner. But before, back then, it wasn't like that where I'm up for hours at night. It wasn't like that. I wake up once or twice and I'll roll over and I'll go back to sleep. So that's what used to happen. And I would feel like I was hearing stuff in the hallway. And I talked about this in my full story and in my summary. So it would be like I would be hearing somebody as soon as I woke up, like they were standing, similar to what was happening in the Airbnbs. If you listen to my story, you'll hear me say what happened in the Airbnbs. It's like whenever I would wake up, there was somebody on the other side of the door in the kitchen, because the unit I'm talking about the last Airbnb. This happened in 3 different Airbnbs. But in the third Airbnb, the unit I was staying in was off of the kitchen. And so literally as soon as I would wake up, and I would turn over on my side, I would hear somebody turn on the faucet. So they literally like were taking turns and monitoring by my door and listening for when I would wake up. And as soon as I would like go to turn on my side, and of course I'm not thinking anyone's listening to me, so I'm just turning over, then they'll turn on the faucet. And so they kept doing it. It was just months and months of this. So it was to the point where I was so freaking angst. Whenever I'd wake up, I'd be stiff in the bed trying not to move. You know how uncomfortable that is when you wake up at night, you just want to move freely and somebody's standing by the door monitoring you and making you feel uncomfortable. And in retrospect, I kind of wish I had just ignored it and didn't give a rat's ass, because I think if I had just moved freely and ignored them, it wouldn't have created what ended up being created. This weird thing that ended up being created. But again, I think it's spiritual, but I'm not going to give it power. I think the reason it even got this far is because of my lack of faith throughout the years. I think that's why it got this far. But anyway, so what happened is basically when I came home, it started after, the fight happened and there was tension and stuff. I noticed that I started feeling like I was hearing stuff in the hallways. Like here, sometimes I would hear people at night whenever I would wake up. People are living in the house, and like I did say, I do have a parent that's a night owl, and I had other people that would be up late too. We're all adults. But it felt different. It was like this weird thing where whenever I would wake up, it was like almost similar to what was happening in the Airbnbs. Like someone was lingering by the door, and I would hear somebody like tapping with their foot, not tapping, but like walking by heavily so I can hear them. Or like they would like take their keys and start jingling it by the door for me to hear. That's what it sounded like. Again, I say this thing is spiritual. So if I was hearing something and they're saying it wasn't them and they're being genuine and honest, then it could have been something spiritual going on. Like I was hearing some sort of spirit because of whatever was happening and me giving it power by believing in it. Remember, for years I've been saying that I thought this roommate did witchcraft on me. I've been saying it since my early 20s, before I was ever a target. I've been saying that to the people in my close circle. I wasn't saying it on video like I am now. I wasn't saying it to outside people, just to my intermediate people in my close circle. And they actually believed it too when I first moved out from her, when my sister and I first moved out from her, because of what happened with the dirty underwear, my sister getting sick and us taking her to the doctor and not finding anything wrong with her. And she was super skinny, big bags under her eyes, throwing up, pooping on herself. You don't understand, like really sick, like somebody that has a disease. And then we're taking her to the doctor and they can't find nothing wrong with her. And she's drinking coconut water and just, we almost thought it was pregnancy again. And it wasn't that. They checked her blood, everything, nothing, couldn't find nothing. It was weird. And so much weird stuff was happening with that roommate when we were living with her. So this is why I was so adamantly like, damn, something must have happened. She must have done something. We all thought so. And so we came out, we were saying our prayers, we were going to church, we changed up our diet, got into holistic health. And literally right after moving out from her, boom, we made these two girls that we later found out were proclaimed witches, brujas. So they were proclaimed witches. It wasn't like the roommate where it's just speculation. They were openly witches. Openly, I'm sorry if I heard, they have like all kinds of bug insect drones up in here. But they were openly witches, proclaimed brujas, and Luciferians. And so I remember them slowly but surely trying to ease their ideology onto us. And I do remember even showing my sister that they were like posting subliminal stuff on their Facebook, and it was really creeping me out. I remembered seeing that, because we were posting our Hebrew Israelite stuff and trying to get them into the Bible. I'm not pushing our beliefs on them. We used to do this thing called Media of the Minds. I talked about it already, where we would go to their house and different people with different ideologies and belief systems would get together and we talk about what we believe. To tell you that I'm not a prejudiced person, because I did share a lot of offensive content in my car. Back then, they even had an Ashkenazi Jew in there. And I remember we were going back and forth about why she thought she was the real Jew and why my sister and I thought African Americans were the real Jew. And, it wasn't getting nasty. It was amicable, the conversation. And it was interesting too. It was fun going back and forth on why we thought what we thought and why she thought what she thought. And then hearing other people's belief systems and why they believe what they believe. So it seemed like this cool vibe. I was like, man, these friends are cool. They're doing this where they're introducing these different understandings and we're talking about why we believe what we believe. I'm into learning. I love learning and reading books and stuff. So hearing these different things was fun for me. We used to have a good time. And then also too, they were into holistic health like us, but they were also into other things. Like they were into sun worship. They were Egyptologists. And I don't have much experience with Egyptologists, but I've seen different Egyptologists that are not proclaimed brujas. Not like how these girls were. They were getting into some dark stuff. And eventually, slowly but surely, they started trying to ease their ideology onto us, like trying to get us to view the Bible esoterically. So at first, they made it seem like they were open to the Bible, like how we are. It made it seem like they were into the Bible, like how we are. And like, yeah, that's a good verse. That's a good verse. And then slowly but surely trying to get us to look at the verse in a different way and trying to get us to see things esoterically. And a lot of the things they said didn't even make sense to me. Some of the things that they tried to, the meaning that they tried to get from verses as they were trying to look at it esoterically rather than literally. I remember that's why they started getting mad, because sometimes when we were like having our debates, and it never got heated, but there were points where they did start to get mad because they're like, I think they were used to just saying their Hebrew Jibu whatever to people and not really having it refuted. And so when you're coming to Hebrew Israelites, we're looking at the Bible literally, like extremely literally. And so we have evidence to back up some of the stuff we say too. And so I remember when they would say certain stuff and we would refute it and it would make sense, then they would be going ham trying to, go against what we said. And it never really got nasty, but it did start to get a little bit edgy. It's like a debate, like when you're having a debate in a classroom and you have one side for one argument and one side for another argument. It's getting real good and one side is getting the upper hand on the other side. That's kind of what it was sometimes, what it started turning into. And then also to them more aggressively trying to get us out the Bible, more aggressively trying to get us to see from their perspective. And this is where it started getting dark, because then they started even getting insulting, started to insult the Bible. So I remember, like, for instance, her baby daddy or fiance, whatever he was telling us that we're still praying to our sky daddy. He was calling God a sky daddy and laughing. And he said something that was like really blasphemous too about the Bible. I remember thinking, oh my God, whoa, and they were just really, starting to reveal that they were very much so anti-Bible. So even though they were trying to get us to look at it esoterically, they really weren't into the Bible like that at all. And they were actually trying to do away with it in a way. And so then I remember too, on Facebook, they started posting their stuff heavily, and we were posting our Hebrew Israelite stuff back then. And, I used to see them posting some subliminal subs at us, and I used to be trying to show my sister, and so it was just creepy to me what was going on back then. And then I remember them taking this random trip to St. Thomas. They knew we were from the Virgin Islands, and we had moved back from Tallahassee, and they took this random trip over to St. Thomas. I thought that was weird too. It's just all these different things I'm thinking about that creeps me out. I'm trying not to be creeped out or be like that, but it's just like I came in contact with so many people that could have done something. And then I wasn't really the most faithful person throughout the years. I did have a drinking problem for 2 years. I did have a moment where I actually completely lost faith. Not 100%. There was never a point where I 100% lost faith. But towards the end of my drinking, I do remember a moment where I was really like not believing, because I didn't understand why what was happening to me was happening to me. And back then was the time when I was heavily saying to the people in my close circle that I felt like witchcraft was at play, because this weird situation had happened with this guy that I had no bad intention with. When I accused him, I had no malice in my heart. I wasn't intentionally accusing him to malign him. I truly at the time believed that he was doing what I said I thought he was doing. And then it just like it continued on and it carried on. And, then when I met him in person, it just turned into this horrible situation for me. And I said a lot of things that I didn't mean to say, and I didn't even understand why I said it. And to me, it just felt like witchcraft, because I noticed that Nikisha Weiss said that that's the case. Like, these weird things will happen with you that you can't really explain. And all these people will be turning against you, and you were never somebody that had problems with people. And that was what started happening back then. So I was heavily talking about it back then. I remember heavily saying to my family, yo, I think this is witchcraft. I think that girl did something. I think she might have done something. I wasn't telling nobody else, just the people in my close circle. And it seemed like it was already in full effect because I was believing in it so much that they were kind of just like turning a blind ear to it. They were no longer thinking that way because my sister had gotten better and things seemed to be a little bit more normal again for us. Not me, but for us, a little bit. But a lot was going on back then. I'm starting to tell my story again. But I just want you to understand I've been saying this thing for years that I suspected something spiritual was at play. Just these weird things happening, these astronomically strange things. I talked about what happened in the Walmart when I was working at the Walmart. Another thing that happened from innocence, my sister and my brother-in-law came in with my niece to buy Pampers. And I remember turning off my light and following them to the aisle like I'd seen all of my other coworkers do when someone they know came in. It was a pretty laid back Walmart. It was a super Walmart, but it was located far out in the suburbs. And so I do remember that although it was a super Walmart, it never really got too packed unless it was a holiday. So oftentimes we had moments where we could turn off our register, and if like a family member or a friend came in, we could follow them to the aisles, and talk. So this is what happened. My sister, my brother-in-law, and my niece came in. They came in to get Pampers. And they also had a check that they wanted to cash. So they wanted to use the check to pay for the diapers and then get the difference, right? And I had seen this be done before. I remember my sister and I down here on this island I'm from used to do that at one of the shopping centers down here. And even up there in the States, there are several stores that do that. So although I had never seen it done at my Walmart before, I had been at this point working there for about 2 months. And I had pretty much learned the register really well. So I figured that I could figure out how to do it. I figured that it wouldn't be that complicated to figure it out. So I remember turning off my light, following my sister and my brother-in-law, pinching my niece's cheeks, and just punching my sister's arm and just playing with her, normal. My relationship at that time with the people in my close circle was normal, completely normal. So I remember following her to the aisles and we're laughing and cracking jokes and, they're getting the diapers. And then they get the diapers and they come to my aisle, obviously. They're not going to go to a different register. And so I remembered her giving me the check and me looking through the register trying to figure out how I can use this check to pay for the diapers. Because I'm pretty computer or tech savvy. And again, I reiterate, I had been working there for about 2 months at that point. So I was like, I can figure this out without asking for help. So after a while, and not a long while either, about 2 or 3 minutes of me looking through and not being able to figure it out, I started blinking my light off and on. And so when you do that, the CSM, which is basically the manager over all of the cashiers, she came over. I remembered her coming over to my register, and me explaining to her what I was trying to do and the fact that I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I remembered her getting like this stern look on her face and then basically saying, don't ever cash a check at your register. All checks are to be dealt with at the money center. And I said, okay, no problem. She said, turn off your light. So I said, okay. I start getting kind of nervous. I'm like, turn off my light. Uh-oh. I'm like, what? I wasn't trying anything. I wouldn't have called you over if I was. So I turned off the light. And so I remembered her taking my sister and my brother-in-law over to the money center. And then she came back over to me and she told me again, basically to just never, ever cash a check at the register, and to make sure that I send all customers that want to cash checks to the money center. I said, okay, no problem, right? So she walks off, and then the asset protection guy that I had met in training, this big burly bald guy, who's really big and burly, like your typical, like when you're watching a movie, like for instance, those movies with like the president. You have an actor that's playing the president. You see those big, huge, like security guards that have like the shaven head and they're like super big. That's how this guy looked. He looked like your classic, stereotypical security guard. And so I remembered him just coming to my register randomly and just leaning over and snarling at me. And it was the way he looked, like it was scary. It was like a pit bull. And I remember like almost pooping my pants because at this time, I had never experienced any trouble with the law. Even now at this age, at 31, with me being targeted and having all these people stalking me and police and this and that, I still have never been in trouble with the law. So now I guess you could say I'm in trouble with the law, but this is bigger than the law. This is some weird program that's happening. But I had never been in trouble even to that extent of what I'm dealing with now. No kind of running with the law or anything like that. Just very much so like this goody two-shoes type of person. And so I remembered being freaked out that was happening. Like, it freaked me out that this man looked at me like that. And, I was feeling so bad. Like, oh my God, I hope he doesn't think I was doing anything. Why is he looking at me like that? It was an innocent situation. And I want you to understand this has been the continuous recurrent theme in my life. Situations like that one, where it's completely innocent, and it creates this weird thing for me. So it's deeper than just me bearing false witness is what I want you to understand. So then I remembered him walking off after he looked at me like that, me shaking. And then literally after that moment, My life as I knew it in that Walmart changed, similar to what's happening to me now that I'm a Target. Every day when I would go to work, this man would make himself present. So he would always be lingering around in the area. And I figured he was going to stop because I was literally working every day. I was I had dropped out of community college, not dropped out, but taken a break from community college. I talked about what happened with that. Literally 2 classes before graduating, I failed this math class 3 times in a row. So although I had an 82% percentile or 2.7 grade point average, my completion rate dropped because I failed the same class 3 times in a row. And so they took my financial aid away. And I wasn't familiar with the fact that I could use my ADD as a disability and basically stay in school. So I didn't know that at the time. And so I was out of school. And I remember that I was completely depressed because I was just now not getting financial aid to help with the bills. We had this big high car note, and I'm working this little, not to talk down on it, but at the time it really felt like a cheap job, because I was only getting $7 an hour. I'm working this little cheap Walmart job, and I can barely pay my bills. And now I'm working, I was working, I'm sorry, I heard noise in the background, it threw me off. I'm working this little cheap Walmart job and I could barely pay my bills. So just understand I had a full-time schedule. So it wasn't like I was working part-time, because I was a college student. I wasn't in school at the time. So it wasn't like a weekend gig or every other day gig. I was literally working 5 days a week and sometimes overtime trying to make money. And so I remembered every time I was going to work, this man would be on top of me. I was like, oh my God, why is he on top of me like this? And I didn't do anything. And it was literally every register I would go to, he would be following me from register to register, literally following me. Of course, he wasn't in the aisle with me, but he would literally be on the outside, like on the premise, like in my, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a brain blank now, just very near, and making sure that I could see him. And ever so often, he would make sure to have eye contact with me. And the more he would do it, the more awkward I would act. I was acting so freaking guilty. I know this man thought I was a thief. I was acting so guilty because I knew he thought I was a thief. And so I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I didn't do anything. If I were going to do something, I'm not going to rat on myself. And this is literally what's happening to me now. And it's been the recurrent theme throughout my life, throughout the years since my early 20s, which is why I think it's spiritual and witchcraft. I keep bringing up the Walmart situation because it directly not only correlated with something that happened to the roommate, but then also too, it totally resembles and is reminiscent of what's happening to me now in this program, where I'm being watched by an individual that thinks I'm guilty of something and I'm acting guilty, and then they're using my reaction as something that's indicative of guilt. It's crazy, and it can be verified. It's not like I'm just making this story up from the side of my neck. Everyone in my close circle knows that this happened. What's funny? I even called my older sister to verify it because I remember when I initially told the story, the Gangstalkers were making noise campaign. So I called my sister and she verified everything, thank the Most High. But this is something that really happened to me. And so I'm like, oh my God, why does this keep happening to me? It's this weird thing where I'm being accused of something I didn't do. And it's always this scenario where it's this monitoring where I'm being stared at. So I have to act awkward. I don't have to act, but I'm acting awkward. And then they use my awkwardness to propel the accusation. It's the weirdest thing ever. It's spiritual, I'm telling you. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent because y'all don't understand. I'm sure you do if you're a target. You do understand. But for those of you that aren't targeted, if just coming in and viewing my videos, or if you're targeted and you're not targeted as heavily as I'm being targeted, just understand that, again, with this program, it's all encompassing. It's 24/7 surveillance. So not only are you stalked and followed and watched physically by people when you leave your house, but when you're in your house, if you don't have some sort of shielding method, they have technology, these flying insect drones that have cameras and microphones that they use to watch you 24/7. So if you're an awkward person, oh boy. And then here's the beautiful thing about it. They then too, this is how they swallow you, right? Then they're in your brain, right? So they put the nanobots and they put the RFID chip in your brain. So they're in your brain listening to your thoughts. They're constantly bombarding you with stimuli, right? All day long, sending you videos, movies, ads, anything they can with stimuli pertaining to the accusations, right? And then they completely encompass you. That's all I'm going to say. Then to take it further, sometimes they're doing the V2K and pushing shit in your head. It's a really comprehensive satanic program. And the reason I keep reiterating satanic is because it's being used to to enact the New World Order. So I went off on a tangent, and I didn't mean to, but every time I try to I keep doing this and I'm not meaning to do it. I think it's because I'm so freaking freaked out with what's happened and what continues to happen and how far it's gone. I think I'm so freaked out. It's like those I keep saying it's like those Lifetime movies. You know, where the innocent victim is being victimized for years and all these weird things are happening and they're trying to explain it and nobody's listening to them. And you're getting frustrated as the viewer because the viewer can see what's happening to the actor, and they're not able to express themselves. That's kind of similar to what's happening to me. It's like, or they're expressing themselves but no one's listening or validating what they're saying. It's similar to one of those kind of like creepy Lifetime movies, if you ever watch Lifetime movies. But it's similar to that, where it's like this weird kind of spiritual thing happening for years and I can't explain it, but it's happening to me. And I know that, I know what's happening. I know the Most High knows. This is why I kind of started losing faith recently, because I didn't understand why he was letting it happen. But then I realized because throughout the years I didn't have faith and I was more so believing in this thing that's happening to me than him. And so I realized that now. But it's like it's a bit late, to be realizing that. But it's never too late as long as you have life in your body. So let me not even say that. But anyways, let me get back to the point though. So it's just like this really scary thing that's happening, and it's very it's reminiscent of what happened to me with that Walmart situation. It's kind of similar to what happened to me with that guy that I met via Instagram, because even in that situation, I wasn't being malicious. I wasn't accusing him to be malicious. I genuinely panicked when I realized he knew who my roommate was and I never told him who she was. It was just the way he told me that he ended up stumbling across her page. And then the picture he saw happened to be deep down in her photos. To me at the time, I truly believed that this man was setting me up. But of course, I had been talking to him for a while and I was going through stuff at the time. And so I had gotten comfortable and used to having that comfort of having that person to talk to. And so it was hard to let go of that. It was kind of like this virtual escape for me. And so it's hard to let go of that despite the fact that I thought he was setting me up. And then too, he was saying certain things that made him sound genuine. And so obviously maybe I was bearing false witness, but I just want you to understand that when I bared false witness, it was always me having reasonable suspicion. So things that I had reason to have suspicion for. It wasn't like random meritless accusations that didn't make sense. Any accusation I made, there was some sort of merit to it. Even with the roommate initially saying she did witchcraft, or that we thought she did witchcraft. I wasn't the only one who thought so back then. And again, there was evidence to support that. It wasn't like concrete evidence, but again, it wasn't a meritless accusation. We found her dirty underwear on my sister's toilet. It wasn't supposed to be there. It wasn't there when we left the house. And then we got back from the vacation and her dirty underwear. So she was in my sister's room and her dirty panty. You don't find that weird? Is on my sister's toilet. And then my sister starts getting really sick and really skinny. And, so it's just like these accusations I've made, I may not have had concrete, and that is kind of concrete evidence, but not concrete enough for me to say something as heavy as witchcraft. That's not concrete enough. Something weird was going on, but that's not necessarily indicative of witchcraft, and I can acknowledge that. But still, something weird was going on, and that is some sort of evidence, even if not concrete. And so my accusations, I never had concrete evidence, but I did have evidence, and I did make an ass out of myself by making these accusations without having concrete evidence. But still understand it was just these weird things that kept popping up in my life that wasn't happening before. And so even that Walmart situation I just keep thinking about started around the time when we moved out from the roommate. And that situation was happening. I'm trying to think if we had met those girls yet. I'm trying to remember if we had met those girls yet when I was working. We did. While I was working at Walmart, we had just met those girls. So I can't even say that it was them. So even if they did do some sort of spiritual thing that ended up leading to me being targeted or whatever, it didn't cause the Walmart thing, that's for sure. That happened after moving out from the roommate. Right after moving out from the roommate was when I started working at Walmart. And so the situation kind of correlated to something or resembles something that happened to her. I'm not going to mention it again, with Walmart and Asset Protection Man and stuff. So it just was like, what the hell? It's like either a very strange coincidence or something is not right, is all I'm saying. And it was like this, I keep seeing that another sign of witchcraft is monitoring spirits, like you're being monitored constantly. They said flies are a sign of witchcraft. I literally let me show y'all the video so you don't think I'm a liar. Because I started looking into these videos again. Let me see how long this video is. Oh my God. See, this is the problem. I keep doing these super long videos and just kind of re-saying what I already said. I think it's because I don't feel like I'm being heard. So I start to re-say the things that I already said because it's just like, oh my God, why is this happening? It's so creepy. I almost flipped out on somebody in my close circle earlier because that person in my close circle, I know for a fact is an honest person. She's not a liar. So out of anyone, I really know that she's not going to be lying. Actually, most of the people in my close circle, I have never known them to have a lying problem. And so for me, it's kind of hard now seeing this happening. But in particularly, that what person I spoke to earlier, she's actually anal about those type of things. Like she's OCD with the Bible. So I know she knows lying is wrong. So when I'm asking her about the program and are you guys gaslighting me? Did you take an oath of silence? Because I saw that that's something that the gangstalkers take. I said, why aren't you telling me what's happening? I said, is this because of the text? It started after the text. And she said, what text? And I said, the text, the text. And you know about the text. And she said, yeah, I know about it because of you. And I said, so-and-so, I'm talking about the people I actually sent the text to. I said, so-and-so and so-and-so didn't tell you about the text? And she said, no, I know about it from you. And so that's when I started flipping out because I know her to be an honest person. One thing about her, she's not a liar, and she's actually OCD with the Bible. So that's when I said something is amiss. For her to sit there and be kind of lying to me, she was telling a white lie or omitting info. She was lying. And I'm like, for her to sit there and kind of be lying in a way, I'm just like, that is where I was like, something is amiss. Something spiritual is going on. I'm telling you, if she don't know me, I know her. And I know her not to be a liar. So if she can't vouch for me, I can vouch for her. I know her not to be a liar. And something is amiss. I'm telling you, her lying there just in that moment, something is amiss spiritually. That's all I'm going to say. Something is not right. Anyway, so I remember flipping out because I was like, what? One thing I know about her is she's not a liar. And I was flipping out, having a moment because I was like, oh my God, she's lying too? I was like, nah, something ain't right. Something is not right. And I keep seeing that with this technology, when you're targeted, it's in everyone. I keep seeing targets say that it's like their family members are being controlled. Or not family members, but people in their close circle. Because I've seen other targets, a lot of targets, some of them, talk about the fact that because a lot of times too, they like to target out people that don't have support or don't have people in their corner because it's easier for them to get away with what they're doing. They don't typically target people that have big families that support them. But there have been a few targets I've come across that are like me, that once were a part of a close-knit family, that are talking about the fact that it's so strange what the people in their close circle are doing or being a part of, and they don't understand it, and it seems almost like they're cloned or like something's taken them over. And then I've come to find, I did more research, and I was seeing that with this program, they can control the people around you. They have frequencies to control whole neighborhoods, whole freaking populations of people, and they can totally take over the mind of these people. So check out my last video. I actually kind of talked about that. And the girl that I was sharing clips from her video, she shared a clip of a movie where they portrayed that happening. They show you the stuff in the movies. In several movies, they have portrayed this happening. So if they choose to pick you as one of the people that they're going to use for this program, for their experimentation before they enact it on everyone else, then they can literally easily, with their technology, turn everyone against you in the snap of a finger or the press of a button, actually. But to me, it just seems, in my case in particularly, and I actually think there are other targets probably that are, have a similar situation to me, where it's not just random selection, but it's more so something spiritual at play. Well, all of this is spiritual anyway. This whole program is satanic. But I mean something spiritual as to the fact that they got thrown in this program. I think that it ties back to, I don't want to say that and give it power, but I think some people are victims of something else going on, not just random selection by this program, a different kind of victim that got thrown in this program. I do believe that. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, and I've been talking for an hour. I didn't mean to do that. I just wanted to share this video with this doctor that was posted a few years ago, where she was talking about the fact that there were the same thing I've been saying, that they're having more and more cases of targeting. And she said sometimes it's elderly people. You're seeing a lot of elderly people getting targeted, and young people, and it seems like the cases are going up and people are questioning why that's the case. And so she's talking about the fact that in Britain, or the UK, there was the money or the funding for the program. It's called M5. The budget was doubled. And so that's why they're hiring on more people to enact the program. And that's also why you're seeing more cases of targeting. But that's where she stopped at. So that's what she talked about in the video. And she didn't talk about why the experimentation is happening and why they doubled the budget and why they're targeting more people. She didn't get to that part. So she was at the surface. She didn't dig deeper. And I'm not insulting her. I didn't see her other videos. It was good information she gave. That's why I'm about to share her video. But it goes even deeper than that. So she's right. They did double the budget. I didn't even look into that, but I believe that was the case. It has to be with all of the cases that's happening now. They're having to hire on people. Well, shit. With the technology they have, I don't even think they always have to hire on people. I think they can just take over a person's mind. But regardless, they are hiring on certain people to do this 24/7. And so that's what she was talking about in her video. But there's a reason why, because they're trying to practice before they use it on the general population. And so that's where this CIA mind control video that I shared comes in. This one that's titled Harvard Scientist Exposes CIA Mind Control Used on Targeted Individuals. That's what I titled it. And then you can see the thumbnail. I have the thumbnail of the video. And it says Harvard Scientist Exposes CIA Mind Control Weapons Still Being Used Today. I mean, you can see it was posted just 8 months ago. And in that video, I've talked about this in several of my videos. So if you've seen my other videos, you know what I'm talking about. There's a DARPA scientist, that graduated from Harvard, that works for DARPA, and he's talking about why you're seeing more cases. And he literally says straight out of his mouth, and he still works for DARPA, by the way. He literally says that targets are the control group. So basically, like when they have a new medication on the market, and they have like a control group that they test basically you could say human test subjects, so they'll start with the animal testing and they'll move on to the humans, which is what they did with this program, by the way. In that same video, he's talking about in the 50s, the scientist that was using the chip on a bull, and they were using the same frequencies that they're using now in targets to basically control the bull and to stop the bull from charging. And so obviously eventually it graduated to human subjects. And so they started to literally just target out people that they considered, like I said, the undesirables of society. So whistleblowers or people in my category that pissed off the wrong person, or the third category, random ass selection. And that's what you're seeing more now, because we're getting closer and closer to that time where they're going to enact this thing. So now more than ever, you're seeing random selection happening. It really scares me too, some of the stuff that I'm witnessing and encountering, and some of the things that I'm seeing certain people being down with. It really scares me because I just know the real them are not like that. They're not down with that type of stuff. So this is just like, it's really creepy the times we're in. We're in Revelations right now. Anyway, so let me finish. I forgot what I was saying now. I lost my train of thought, and I want to really just get to sharing that video with you. So in the CIA video, basically, the scientist, the DARPA scientist, and then this former government official that became targeted, I guess he was a whistleblower, they're both in the interview giving information, and talking about why you're seeing more cases of targeting and what the plan is. So basically, targets are the control group, human experimentation against our will. They're using us basically as the control group. So this is why you're seeing more cases of random selection, not just the first or second category, the whistleblower or the person that pisses people off. You also have the third category of random selection, where they're literally just selecting any old random anybody, and just start targeting them. The person's just noticing that they're being stalked, they're being surveilled, the same stuff that happens to all targets, right? And all of us are innocent, but it's still just three different categories that's happening. And so basically, with that third category, oh, by the way, let me just be clear with the second category that I'm in. It's not necessarily that you just piss somebody off. They also throw criminals into the second category. But typically they're not targeting criminals. And this is what this lady is talking about in her video, this doctor, because she's targeted as well. She's talking about the fact that it's not your typical criminal. They will do a smear campaign and oftentimes try to false accuse you. But typically the people that are in the second category are not really criminals. They will do smear campaigns on you. Sometimes they will actually target a criminal, but it's rare. It's so rare. And she's talking about why it's rare. Typically, they hire criminals to gangstalk. And I'm not saying that because there are so many people gangstalking in my specific case, but I'm talking about literally in other cases with other targets that aren't in my situation. Because remember, my targeting is viral. It's something different going on with me. This is why I said this thing is spiritual. But typically, oftentimes they'll either, and she's talking about this in the video, they'll either hire people that are homeless or struggling and need money because they offer them like food gift cards and stuff like that. Or I literally mean criminals, and I'm not saying it in an offensive way. I'm literally telling you what I learned. Someone with a criminal record, they'll offer them like some sort of plea deal. So like they'll get some time off of their sentence or something like that if they agree to gangstalk. But they're usually not targeting criminals. Sometimes, like I said, they will, but not often. It's very rare. Typically, it's innocent people that they know are submissive. That's not gonna. So it's weird and hard to explain. We may be outspoken and stuff, but harmless. So those type of like conspiracy theorist type people. that have no criminal record or any history of violence, that would never harm anyone. Those are the type of people that they like to target out in the second category. There was a video from Michael Barton that I shared where he was reading this out. And that was one of my videos that got deleted. But anyway, so that second category, that's what I fall into basically. I pissed off people, you could say too many people, and I pissed off some people in power. Again, it doesn't even make sense how it happened. It's similar to what happened to me in the Walmart situation, where this innocent thing happened that created this weird storm for me that I don't understand. And it created a storm for me. And so this is what's going on. But then mostly your third category is what you're seeing targeted. So basically random people. And you're going to see more and more and more of it. She was talking about this in this video from 7 years ago. Imagine now, as we're getting closer to what they're trying to do. So that's what the DARPA Scientist was talking about. He said targets are the control group, and basically they're just using us to practice before they use this on the general population. And so he said targets are sacrifices for the betterment of mankind, is what he said. Because basically, obviously it's a sacrifice if you're being thrown in this program. You see what they do to your life, right? But they do that, and they utilize this technology as practice so that they can use it to create their new world order agenda. So this is why he said the betterment of mankind, because that's his ideology. Betterment for him means everybody being chipped and connected to this computer system, right? So computer to brain interface, and it's going to be complete and total domination. He said religion's going to be done away with. He said democracy is going to be done away with. It's going to be complete control, right? And he said everybody's going to be thinking at the same time. It sounded like some freaky, weird-ass sci-fi shit that this man was talking about in this video. And so I shared clips with pertinent information. The whole interview is important. So I would say watch the whole thing. I put the link in the video, but I shared the clips to me that stood out the most. And I talked about it and I gave commentary, and it was a lot more clear and concise than this video. This video is a little bit all over the place. My more recent videos have been, and I think it's because I'm just going through a lot, and now actually feeling kind of, I don't want to say hopeless. I'm not that type of person to allow myself to feel hopeless, but a little bit, because it's like it's to the point where it's difficult to even get a job now. So it's just kind of like, when you're being gangstalked at your job or whatever is happening, you can deal with that because at least you got the job. But you can't afford to quit jobs when you're targeted. And I didn't know that. I didn't even know I was a target when I quit my teaching job. If I knew what I know now, I would have held on to that job, I'm telling you. But you can't afford to be quitting jobs regardless of what's happening to you in the program. That's what it's designed to do, to make you impoverished. So you need to try and hold on to your job if you're not to that level where they're making it like you can't get a job. You have to try to hold on to your job if you have a job. So that you can help yourself, because there are things you can do to kind of help yourself and countermeasures you can use against some of the things that they do to you in this program. But anyway, so in that video, that's what the guy's talking about. Basically, targets are experiments, human experiment test subjects. It's a control group. That's why it's random ass people that they're picking, because they want to have an accurate depiction of what it would look like if they use this on the general population. So of course they would have to pick a bunch of random people from the population to have that sort of analysis. And so that's what's going on right now, basically, with the targeting. That's why you're seeing more cases of it, and that's what the agenda is. So regardless of what started your targeting, the point is you're being used as an experiment to help these people that are trying to push this new world agenda, to help them push their agenda. This is why this is happening to you. And the gang stalkers that are involved don't realize that they're helping to push this agenda, and that soon it will be them with the chip in their head. I mean, likely they might already have it, because with the technology these people have, everyone is likely already chipped. Everyone definitely does have nano in them. There's no disputing that. It's in the air, it's in the food, it's in everything. But the chip thing, I'm not sure if everyone has it in them yet, and I don't want to give misinformation. But with the technology they have, I would not be surprised if everyone was already chipped. Anyway, so let me go ahead and share this video with this doctor, though, from 7 years ago, where she's basically, just like I said, talking about how the cases have gone up, how it's random people being selected. And the reason it went up is because the budgeting for the program, is called M5, was doubled. Now, this was 7 years ago, so imagine where it's at now. Imagine how many cases now, And so for me, like I said, that's her scratching the surface. And I went in her comment section, I told her about the CIA DARPA guy and what he was saying. So I was just telling her also why the budget was doubled, what the plan is. So I have the video up now. I'm going to play it for you guys. It's only 15 minutes long. This video is so long. I did not mean for it to be so long. My gosh. But I want you to see the comment that I put because they're stopping me from commenting. Every time I try to comment so that she can see that CIA video, and I don't even think she's posting or active on YouTube anymore. Maybe she's still active and not posting. But I noticed several targets. It's really scary. You know, you see that they used to be active on YouTube and then they just stopped posting. You know, like you'll see they didn't post in 5 years or 2 years. And, you know, there are several targets that really don't make it in this program. Yah forbid. I denounce that. But it's a really harsh program and it's really scary. So just know that that's the case also. So you have to be a warrior in this and really pray, you know, stay prayed up. But anyways, she's one of those that I haven't seen post, you know, since I haven't seen her post in 2 years. So I don't know if she's still active. I just followed her. I just looked at her most recent video and saw that it was 2 years ago. So she might be still active and just decide to stop posting for her own safety. I really don't know because she's obviously one of those that's giving information. But I can see that she hasn't posted in 2 years. But I still tried to put this comment, you know, and they're stopping me from putting comments again. I think it's because my more recent videos have diverted back to talking about the targeted individual program because I realized I stopped and I can't even get a job. It's like, why did I stop? I need to be trying to make these videos so I can get help. There has to be someone out there that can help me. So this is why I'm doing these videos again and also just spreading awareness, which I didn't totally stop anyways. You know, I just tried to steer away from certain things, but I'm like, nah, I need to talk about this stuff. I'm not going to do too much. You know, I am trying to be careful, but at the same time, who am I? I'm a nobody. They obviously have this info out there anyways. So who am I? You know, it's like, I don't see that as being a cause to do more to me. I don't understand why they would. It doesn't make sense. It's not like I'm sharing anything that's not on YouTube. I'm sharing what I'm learning. This is literally what I'm doing. I'm sharing the information that I'm learning. So I don't see how that could get me in problems. But anyway, so look at the comment that I put underneath her video, and they keep stopping me from doing it. I'm going to show you. It says 0 seconds ago because it's frozen at the point where I put the comment, but I put this comment like an hour and right before I started this video. So I guarantee you it's not here anymore. If I come out of her video and go back in, I'm going to show you the comments not there anymore. But look what I put. I said, excellent information. Thank you for sharing. I just recently shared a video on my page where I compiled clips from an interview with a DARPA Harvard scientist. He was saying that the cases are going up because they are practicing for the NWO, so New World Order. Oh shit, look at that. Wow. Oh, never mind. The comment's gone already. I could done tell because when I pressed that by accident, you saw what it said. But anyway, I was able to go back. Anyway, so he was saying that the cases are going up because they are practicing for the New World Order. Targets are the control group. That is why you are seeing different people from different walks of life being targeted at an alarming rate. In the video, I provide commentary to the clips. So I'm talking about the video I have posted, where I shared clips from the interview with the scientist, and I provided commentary. That's what I'm talking about. So I said, in the video, I provide commentary to the clips. There is a reason the budget doubled. They are hoping to create a totalitarian government system where everyone will be chipped and their brain will be hooked up to a computer system. Also, in the description box and comment section of my video, I put the link to the interview with the scientist. And I said, here is the link to my vid. And I put the link to my video. So just know this comment isn't there. I have it saved into my text messages because I realized what they were doing. They keep deleting it. But look at the name of the video. It says Gangstalking Basics, Targeted Individuals, Stop 007, right? And she's a doctor. Her name is Dr. Catherine Horton, right? So she was targeted in Britain, or I don't know why I keep saying Britain, in the UK, right? And this video is from several years ago. The last time I saw her post was 2 years ago. So I don't even know if she's still active on Facebook. But obviously there are going to be people like me that come across her video and look in the comment section. So even if she doesn't see my comment, I do want other targets and other people to see my comment so that that information can be out there, so that they can put it together with what she's saying, because she's giving good info. And then if you connect it with what the DARPA scientist said, then you have a picture, right? And you can understand what's going on. So basically they doubled the budget. I'm learning that from her video. You're seeing more cases. And then from what the DARPA scientist said, they're doing this because they're getting ready to enact a New World Order. So basically they're picking random targets, more and more of us, because we're the control group, the experimental group, you could say the test rats, the lab rats, and they're studying us and using their technology on us so that they can basically enact it on everyone else. That's the plan. So basically, the gang stalkers are well aware, obviously, and still down with it. So it's wild to me. It's wild to me. I don't understand. I could never be down with it. But that's what's going on. And I actually didn't ask for this. I didn't look into this off will. I did look at it. I did look into this with my will. That's not what I'm saying. But I didn't look into this randomly like I wasn't being targeted, because I do see some random people that just start looking into targeted individual stuff. I don't know why you would ever dig into this realm if you're not dealing with it. Well, actually, I could understand if you're a visionary and you're trying to stop this thing. But just understand you can't. Only the most I can. This thing is all encompassing. It's really scary stuff. But I would have never been looking into this stuff if I wasn't targeted. Like I told y'all, I've been targeted since 2020. I just started making videos at the end of last year when I tried to relocate, and I realized that this thing was a thing that followed me. And I was like, wait a minute, what the heck? I said, now I got to start making videos, I need to tell my story. But before I even decided to do that, when I came home, I actually started doing research to see if anyone else had gone through what I went through, because it was so freaking astronomically strange and crazy that I was like, nah, I got to look into this. Somebody out there had to have experienced what I experienced up there in the States when I tried to relocate. Somebody. And so when I started looking into it, I just said gangs of people following you. That's literally what I typed in. I didn't even say gangs. I said groups of people stalking you is what I typed in. And that's when I came across the term gangstalking. And then that's when I got into the community, the targeted individual community. And I realized it was an actual program. I was like, wait a minute, whoa. I said, I got to tell my story. This is insane. How the hell did I get thrown in this program? And so I started doing more and more research. Remember, it's been almost a year now at this point. That's why I know so much from digging and all day long not working, just watching and learning and figuring things out. And so this is how I keep digging into more and more stuff. I don't understand how anyone could blame me for that when this thing is taking over my whole life and I didn't do anything and I don't deserve it. I don't see how anybody with a sane mind that's not taken over by nanobots could blame me for this, right? So anyways, so this is what I've been doing. I've been looking into this stuff and I've been sharing what I know, and I kind of stopped a little bit there for a while when I thought I could actually get a job. I was about to shut my mouth and act like I didn't know what was going on. And the reason being is because I'm smart enough to realize that this thing is bigger than me and it's all encompassing. So I can't stop it. It doesn't matter what I share. I can't stop this. Only the Most High can stop it. And if you believe in the Bible, then you'll understand that he's going to come back and stop this thing, right? But the fact is, I'm still dealing with it. I'm still currently going through this. So when I thought I could actually get a job and actually be okay and not be dealing with this weird program and being a victim to it, then that was when I was okay with stopping talking about it. Because I was like, okay, well, if I stop talking about it, they'll leave me alone and I can leave it to the Most High the rest. I already shared enough information to help other people on my page. I didn't feel like I needed to share anything else. But when I realized that it's still happening, they're still very avidly doing this thing to me and it's completely illegal and unjust, I said, no, I need to expose this thing more. And I need to not just expose it more, but I need to see if there's somebody out there that can help me. I need to see if there's someone out there that can help me. So this is why you saw the title of my video, the last one, not the last one, the one before that, is titled A Targeted Individual's Plea. Because I'm literally pleading now with the targeted individual community, somebody out there to help me, because I don't have help anywhere. And you know how this program is if you're a target. It's all encompassing, right? So when I thought that there was an opportunity that I could get out of it and possibly start working again, because I am an innocent victim like most targets are, I thought that I could start working again and get my life back, and then I could put this behind me. And of course I was going to leave the videos I already had posted up to hopefully help any other victims of this program. But I wasn't going to keep doing videos and digging, because what is that going to do? Yes, I am sending out information and helping other targets, but aside from that, what is that going to do? I can't stop this thing. Only the Most High can. So this is why I was like, I don't mind stopping the videos. I already posted enough to help other targets. I can stop and live a normal life and leave this shit alone, really, because I don't want nothing to do with it to begin with. I don't even understand why I've been thrown in this weird-ass satanic program. But it's just like when I realized that, oh my God, they're still doing this and it's getting worse. Like what I've seen, the same account I've seen with other targets where they said, just hold on, it's going to get worse. That's what's been my case. It's just constantly getting worse. And I realized, no, I need to now at this point, more than just spreading out information, because I think I shared enough. It was more so a plea for help. Me seeing if there's somebody out there that can hear my story and actually genuinely help me. Because I am aware of programs like Targeted Justice, and things of that nature. And I did send them an email. I never heard back from them. I just did see that they have like 300,000 cases going or whatever. So I know they're extremely overwhelmed. Their email even says that it might take them a while to get back to you. But then also too, recall that I shared a lot of offensive shit in my car when I didn't know what was happening to me in the height of my targeting. I shared a lot of offensive stuff in reaction to what happened to me in Indiana. And I did see that there were a diverse group of people, not one specific race, but I saw different races working for them. So they could be not helping me because I shared offensive content. That could be very real. They've been using that to turn targets against me. And then other targets I do see still rocking with me, but they're not commenting anymore. It's like they either threaten them or literally just easily get them to turn because of the offensive stuff I shared. And that target didn't get a chance to hear my story yet. So that's what's happening. And so they probably reach out to Targeted Justice. They reach out to anybody that I reach out to. And so either they saw the offensive stuff I shared and decided not to help me, or they're really just overwhelmed, like their website says. They have like 300,000 cases. So I was just looking for some sort of resource where I could get help, even if it's outside of the country. I don't mind working with someone in a different country. Yeah, I was actually looking into Africa. I was trying to find like free lawyers in Africa, or some sort of advocacy over there. And I'm still actually looking, because this is crazy and it's illegal and it's wrong, and I didn't do anything to deserve this. Nothing to warrant this level of punishment, nothing. So this is insane to me, and it's actually confusing to me that it was actually allowed to happen. It's like a big betrayal. But anyways, I'm not trying to go into the details of that or dig into that too deep. So let me just share this video with this doctor. So you see the comment I left her. She's sharing good information, talking about why you saw the cases start going up a few years ago, about 7 years ago. And if you add that to what this DARPA scientist said, then you can understand what's going on. So basically, they doubled the budget. Remember, Obama signed the BRAIN initiative over here in America. She's talking about over in the UK. But I think in all of the governments, they're amping up. And actually, that's what the DARPA scientist said. He said that all the governments are doing this now. It's actually like a competition in the military to see which government can catch the most brains. That's what the man said. Can you understand what he said? He said that in the interview. Please check out my video. He said it's a competition right now between all the militaries of the world to see who can catch the most brains. So they're considering it catching a brain when they chip you and hook you up to this system. Who can catch the most brains? That's what they're doing now. So understand that. So put that together with what she said about them doubling the budget, and you seeing just random people getting targeted, and understand that they're slowly but surely doing it to more and more people, and pretty soon it's going to be everyone. So anyways, let me go ahead and share her video.
People who would like to follow, first of all, I would like to start with organized stalking. So organized stalking or gang stalking is reported by many, many people. And for a long, long time, they've been stamped as paranoid or schizophrenic. But this is actually a wrong diagnosis.
Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say, guys. Oh my goodness, I forgot she talked about that. For some of you might have seen that video I posted, but there was a video I did where I shared this diagnosed schizophrenic, and she was giving commentary on a schizophrenic simulation. So basically, it was a video posted to YouTube with a guy that was reenacting what schizophrenia looks like. And so it was a simulation. And she was giving commentary over the simulation, and just putting her own personal experience with schizophrenia into it, right? And so I did my own commentary over her commentary, and basically showed how her schizophrenia was really her being targeted. So either she's targeted and was gaslit so good that she thinks she's schizophrenic, or she's a plant that was put out there to spread that subterfuge, that schizophrenia is a real thing, but it's not. But that's one of the videos that I took down, that I had posted when I was trying to not get in problems. That was one of the videos, and I had really broke it down. I think I might make that video again. But schizophrenia is not a real mental illness. It's a fictitious mental illness. And what it is a targeted individual that's being gaslit.
It's actually a wrong diagnosis. It's essentially what it is box ticking from the psychiatrists who are experts in their own field but don't know about something else that's happening. And what you can, for example, show, and I'm pretty sure because this is something that I can even show, by just going online and having a look, is that there has been an explosion in people complaining about organized stalking and gang stalking. So for the last 16, 20 years, there has been this steady rise and ever more people complaining. And they seem to say all the same thing. I'm being ganged up on. That's number one. but also strange scenes are happening over and over to me. So much more than than is normal. And what's also quite telling is that a lot of older people are reporting this, but also young people. And so for a long time, it has been just stamped as, oh, this is just paranoia, schizophrenia, but just stamping it like that and not doing the data analysis or not doing the actual investigation is just not good enough, because now it has literally exploded. So what is actually intermixed, and I'm now going to talk about the second half. And with every case, I'm not saying every case is one of the two categories. What I'm now talking about is the other category that is completely ignored by psychiatrists. So psychiatrists who have typically their knowledge from what they learned at university and what their field is printing in these magazines and these on congresses and these sort of educational courses. Well, all the knowledge that's presented there is based on just psychiatry, and is based on typically the knowledge of the past 10 or past 20 or even past 30 years. And that doesn't take into account developments that are now happening and can be shown to happen. So I'm not going to talk about psychiatry because I'm absolutely not qualified to talk about that. But I'm going to talk about that aspect, which on the other hand, none of the psychiatrists are qualified to talk about, but which you can also map if you're studying current affairs, or there's many other indications, and I'm going to explain that. So I'm going to talk about the second category, which is what's always ignored. And the second category is the fact that the intelligence agency's budget has exploded. It has literally exploded. And for the United Kingdom, we've got very precise data, because MI5's budget has doubled. This is absolutely unprecedented in the history of, I think, any intelligence agency. But it actually doubled. So, and that was in 2003. So you can look it up on The Guardian, and many other newspapers reported about that. But in 2003, the budget doubled. Okay, so what this means is that before you had already MI5, a big sprawling organization covering the entirety of UK, because they have to, right? I mean, they have to keep the entirety of the UK safe. And now the financial flow into this organization is such that from that year onwards, you can keep a second organization, right? This is what it means when the budget doubled. Before, it sustained an organization of a certain size. Suddenly after that, it can sustain two organizations of exactly the same size. So when an organization is given this much money, and this is a fact now, I'm not talking about hypotheses, this is a fact, the budget doubled, end of story. When this happens, an organization will have to use the money quickly. And typically, if they don't use the money, you know that from the local council, for example. I mean, councils are famous for just digging up roads I think in spring in the UK, because the financial year ends in spring, and if they haven't spent the money, then they are not getting it the next day. So, where I lived, I always watched how in spring these crazy, work projects started, sometimes ripping up a road that they had just laid down the year before. And there were certain roads that were taken up, it seemed to me, every year. So to guarantee that the money is spent quickly on a small project at the end of the year, so that next year they get the big budget again. So the same thing also happens in all systems. So you can imagine that when this happens and this ginormous money flow starts coming into an organization like MI5, they very quickly have to hire lots of agents, they have to double the number of their informants, and everything has to double. Everything has to double. But when you turn it on, suddenly the first year when you hired nobody, they are swimming in money. They are absolutely swimming in money. You see, because the hiring process has to be gradual. But if you get the money straight away, and this is it's like someone opening a second pipe, it's just flooding in. The money is just flooding in. So what you expect from that, first of all, who do you think they can hire? Well, there's a lot of unemployed people, so they can only hire the unemployed, right? Or they can suck off people who are in other jobs, but that's unlikely. Unless they give them really lucrative jobs. So you're looking for this system very rapidly recruiting unemployed people, young people, who are maybe not in jobs, pensioners maybe, who want to earn money because they can't pay for the heating of their house, and this lot, okay? So what you expect when the budget doubles is that suddenly there will be this, fantastic amount of new hires who will be very quickly taught the tools of the trade. Now, what are the tools of the trade for MI5? It will be surveillance, right? So it will be stalking people, it will be bugging cars, bugging phones, bugging houses. It will be, following people. It will be setting up certain scenes that they control. Okay, that sort of stuff. Those are the tools of the trade. I mean, it's essentially surveillance, stalking, sabotage. Street theater scenes, disconcerting scenes, trying to read out people's reactions, listening into their conversation, anything that can first of all get information from them and then influence them, in their life will be it. So, who are you going to train these people on? All these new, unemployed pensioners and young people. Ooh, well, you need a lot of subjects for that, test subjects. So just by this fact that the budget of MI5 doubled, you expect a lot of unsuspecting people to come forward and say, I seem to be stalked by people. I seem to have my house under surveillance. All these things that seem to be happening. So this is not a surprise, people. That's what you freaking expect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because if you double MI5's budget, they have to double their personnel. They have to. I mean, they can't just spend all this money on kit because you need people to operate the kit. So you either buy something really, really expensive, like you suddenly just buy satellites and you just scatter the sky with satellites. I'm sure that happened too, but not just. Okay? So if they have got satellites, signal.
And of course that happened, guys, because remember they're doing the neuromonitoring via satellite. So the RFID chip that's in your brain is used to get a fingerprint of your brain, and then they're able to do the neuromonitoring. You're hooked up to whatever system, and they're able to use these satellites to neuromonitor you. So just understand it's scattered out throughout the sky, and they have enough to use this on everyone, just about everyone. But they're using their money, and they're doubling of the budget to enact this experimentation, and more people are getting targeted because they're slowly but surely doing it to everyone. Is basically what's going on. That's just what the DARPA scientist said. He said eventually it's going to be everyone, and it's really a competition right now between the different militaries around the world, the different governments around the world, to see who can catch the most brains. Please go check out that video if you haven't already. That CIA video with the DARPA scientist that I posted. In fact, I'll put the link to it in this video in the description box. I'll put the link to my summary of how I became targeted, the link to my full story, like I said at the beginning. Then I'll put the link to this video I'm sharing right now, and I'll put the link to my video where I shared clips from that video with the DARPA scientist and I provided commentary.
Okay? So if they have got satellites, signal intelligence, they've got human intelligence, and lots of other flavors, and each of those will have probably their budget doubled. So even if you're just talking human intelligence, you will have to double it, and it's already a big operation. And when you double it, you have to train people, you have to train new entries. So you automatically expect people to come forward and say, I am being stalked by. And then the telltale is, does it fall into the category that you would expect? If people come forward and say, I'm being stalked by fairies or space aliens, then it's probably paranoia, like classical, proper messed in the head. However, when they come forward and say, I'm being stalked by a lot of young people, like teenagers, early 20s, and I'm being stalked by a bunch of old men or old women, then that's what you would expect. Then you would think, hang on a second, you're in the UK, okay, I think it's much more likely that you fall into this category, that actually your life is now being used, and you have been identified as, sufficiently harmless, sufficiently less well connected, that you could, someone would step up and actually complain for you. And you're most likely a prop. in this ginormous training machinery that's now fired up to train up all these spies. Okay, so organized stalking, if a lot of people start coming forward and they say, I am being stalked by these gangs, most likely your life is being used as training. So you stop asking, yeah, but what have you done? Do you have links to terrorism or whatever? Because would you actually train up your rookies on a real life terrorist or real life organized criminal? Probably not, because they.
This part that she's saying is deep. Remember, I told you that most of the people in this program are not criminals, right? They really wouldn't really be using this or utilizing this on real threats because they know that the reaction would be egregious. I keep constantly saying that as I'm cussing to myself when the shit is happening to me. I keep saying, man, if this were someone else, I know they would have been popping off because I can even think about people that I know personally that would be reacting completely differently to me. And I know I'm not even talking about anyone in my intermediate circle because I know they would immediately get offended and think I'm talking about them, even though even them, I know they would have had a way more egregious reaction than me. But not even them. I'm even talking about people that I've just known in my circles that if they had been going through what I was going through, it would have been a real party. I keep saying that. Or some of the real criminals out there. And again, I don't want to sit and put my foot in my mouth. I'm talking about the violent ones. I'm not talking about like if you stole something or you did something and you repented for it. I'm not putting my foot in my mouth and looking down on anyone. I'm talking about the violent criminals out there. You think they really targeted violent criminals? You know the kind of freaking crazy, egregious reactions and backlash would happen if they were targeting real violent threat type people? They're not. They're targeting typically submissive people that they know are not really a threat, at least not a physical threat. Anyways, and the reason I say not physical is because oftentimes it's people that are whistleblowers that have the power to basically lead people, or if not necessarily lead people, at least share information and do research and kind of rebel against what they think is wrong. But anyway, so that's what she's saying. But it's deeper than what she's saying. And I said this already, so I don't need to repeat it. It's not just a training. It's not like something, it would be nice if it were, not even. It's still sick because it's illegal and it's, doing this to innocent humans. But it would have been at least, kind of decent if it were some sort of training that they were just practicing so they can use it in real warfare to protect the nation. But that's not the case. The DARPA scientists really made it very clear that what they're doing is using targets as a control group. So it's not just a training like she's saying. It is a training, they're right, but a training so that they can practice to use it on everyone else. So they're basically practicing on targets so that they can use it on the general population. We're the control group. So it's more than just a training.
Because they probably end up with, their head cut off in bed. So this is probably not good for training. So you wouldn't put your rookies onto real criminals, even if, the target of this law and security apparatus were to, fight organized criminals. Let's assume that's the case. But even then, you wouldn't put your new entries onto the really tough cases because they wouldn't last a day in the job. So you would try to identify the most harmless individuals. So when people come forward and say, I'm being, gang stalked and people gang up on me and I'm seeing all these weird scenes, ask, who do you think is doing this? And if it falls into this rough pattern, or they say,
I won't stop it again, guys. This is the last time I'm going to stop it. Another fun fact is, did you know majority of targets are women? There was this woman, I was following several, and they were talking about statistics and the fact that oftentimes they'll target women that live alone. So women that don't have like support from others, but typically women because we're more submissive. And that ties into what she's saying about the fact that they're not going to really target real threats. Because the kind of egregious reaction you're going to get if you're doing this to somebody that didn't do something, that has a hot temper, or is somebody that has a violent nature? What kind of, you heard what she said about I'm not going to repeat what she said, what could happen, but they're not going to target real people that they know are physical threats. Trust me, they're not going to do that. You know what kind of crazy scene that would be? So they're practicing on people that they know are submissive or not real threats. Ironically enough, though they're calling us threats, and they're using that system to practice, and then they're going to use it on everyone else.
say, you know what, all these people, they look really like, I mean, I don't have any class issues or anything. I'm not saying it to, put people down who are poor or anything. But if people say, yeah, it's a lot of just, they seem to be very poor, or very just, or I actually, sometimes you talk to these stalkers and they seem very uneducated. Nothing against uneducated people, nothing against poor people, but these people will be the target, for simple tasks like street stalkers, for the street surveillance system. That's what you would expect, because you'd never have a professor of biochemistry.
So let me just chime in. That's basically what I was saying at the beginning of the video. So not in my case, because obviously, remember I told you my targeting is viral. So literally anyone in the vicinity of me, they're recruiting to be a part of my targeting. It's not like your typical target, that got thrown in this program at random. That third category, which actually comprises of most of the targeted individuals right now. My category is a smaller list, and the whistleblowers is a smaller list, believe it or not. That third category of the random selection, they actually make up most of the list of who's being targeted. And so obviously their targeting isn't as high level as mine, where everyone in the vicinity is targeting me. So typically in those cases, what you're saying, and I've seen it in videos, I keep seeing a lot of targets talk about this, those type of targets that are randomly selected, that they're hiring like homeless people or people that need money, sometimes, like I said, criminals, that want leeway off of whatever jail sentence or whatever it is that's going on with them. My roommate talked about that too. He was saying that his friend's fiance, he thinks that they were a part of it because he had a case going, and so he feels like they were offering that guy, a deal, basically like some leeway off of his case or whatever. You kind of like a plea deal or whatever. So that's what was going on. That's what's going on. They're basically oftentimes, not in my case, but often in times with targets like the randomly selected ones, they're not using everyone in the community like what's happening to me. They'll typically hire people that need money, like homeless people. So that's why she said people that are uneducated. Not all homeless people are uneducated. So let me not make that ignorant comment. I definitely don't want to put my foot in my mouth. There are so many homeless doctors and et cetera, especially in these times. But what she's saying is, when she says uneducated, so people that might have a hard time getting a job or, just going through it, needing money. She literally just said that. And I've seen other targets say this. People that are needing money, so are desperate and need help. They'll utilize those people and use them as gang stalkers.
Going, oh yeah, you know what, I really want to give up my job and just stalk people in the street. No. So you're looking for people who are, they need the money and they don't really have the level of education to do something else. So this is how to understand the organized stalking phenomenon. If you think, hang on, could it be that, because in the UK we know it for sure, right? Now for Germany, I also showed you that there are tax benefits. So if you only pay 10% of tax when you become part of the system as an informant, or whatever your title might be, of course this system is going to recruit more and more people. So it will be a runaway process in Germany too. And, after several decades of these tax laws being in place, you just expect the country to be swamped by these people, and I think that's what we see now. And there's also a network effect. So in the beginning, only a few people knew about this tax benefit, and the system slowly grows. But as it grows, it doesn't grow linearly. In the end, there's a turn-on curve, because the probability that you come across, you're networked with someone in your life who knows about this, and at some point will say, hey, did you know if you become an informant, you don't have to do much. Like literally, you just do nothing for most of the year, but you only pay 10% tax. So there will also be a natural system effect, which is a non-linear turn-on curve, and that's a network effect. So networks spread information non-linearly, because when you hit certain hubs, well-connected, very chatty people, they just blast information everywhere, and there are these non-linear effects. And the more people know, the more likely you are to have heard about it. So in Germany, by this tax law alone, and sorry, I'll show you the reference again. It's right here in this book. This is the very famous textbook in Germany. If you go to, this is now the 2011 edition, but it's called the Spitzelsteuer, only 10%. This is on page 60 of the 2011-2012 edition. So if you become an informant in Germany, you only pay 10% tax. In a country with tax rate.
Now go figure. Look at where she's talking about Germany. Remember that where this program originated, in Germany. It was an East German Nazi Stasi program that's now being utilized by every government of the world, and they have their own adaptation of the program. but that's why you see that book, and obviously it would still be going on in Germany if they're the ones that created it. But really, it's a one world government program. So, the agenda was always there to do this new world order. And so that's what's being basically enacted right now as we speak, right under everyone's noses. Shoot, it's not even under, as she said, everyone's noses. She said the thing is growing and it's non-linear, so it's growing with a curve and just literally off by word of mouth. Somebody in a program that's a gang stalker that's getting benefits might say it to a friend. Yo, if you join this program, you gang stalk, yo, you could get this, you could get that, whatever the case is, whatever they're being offered. And so it's growing and it's growing and it's growing. And I already said this in my CIA video with the DARPA scientist when I was giving commentary. I think it's also experimentation on the gang stalkers as well. I think they're human test subjects too, but in a different way. I think that they're also testing out how the general population is going to react to this sort of control and this sort of technology. So seeing them willingly jumping on board and being okay with it, obviously is a good sign to whoever's running this program, the higher ups, right? But they're also, like I said, just trying to, from my opinion and from my analysis and from what that DARPA scientist said, it seems trying to slowly but surely desensitize the population to this sort of control and this sort of technology. And then when it's actually enacted on them, it won't be like an all-out shock.
Rates of 20 to 40%. And ka-ching, but it will lead to a runaway process. That's Germany. So in Germany, I'm not surprised that the country at some point gets swamped by snitches, by gang stalkers, by informants. That's like encoded. And people who put this in probably didn't know much about mathematics and didn't expect, because this is probably old. This is probably from like at least the 1960s or 70s, if it's not actually straight from the 1950s. Please check the history of this tax law. But whenever they put it in, as a systems analyst, I can tell you that this will lead to nonlinear process because everybody will want to have it. So after a couple of decades, suddenly there will be just this explosion in snitches, unless you actually, and the people in power want that. So it's very good because then you're controllable, then you work for them, So in Germany, it's not surprising that there's a gangster.
And by the way, guys, when she says snitches, she's talking about informants, so the gang stalkers, because they're considered snitches because they're going back to obviously who they've been hired by the government, and they're snitching on the target. So they're following the target and they're reporting back to the government. And so this is why they're called informants, i.e., snitches. Because they're literally going back and reporting what they're seeing of the target and what's going on with the target, et cetera, et cetera. And so she's saying there's going to be an explosion of them. And that is actually what's happening now. But again, they don't understand that this technology is going to be used on them in the future and is being used on them right now. Because oftentimes when you see gang stalkers doing certain things, they are already being watched as well and they are already chipped as well. I don't want to say chipped as well. I don't have evidence of that. So I don't want to spit out facts that I don't know. I assume that's what's going on. But they definitely have the nano in them.
In Germany, it's not surprising that there's a gang stalking explosion because of this tax law. In the UK, not surprising, there's this gang stalking explosion because MI5 budget doubled in 2003. No fat surprise. I would guess that the budget's also probably doubled in the US. And please check for other countries where I don't know much about it, but I would expect the war on terror, or the war of terror, as I call it, is global. It affects the Western world. So I think something similar must have happened in Japan, South Korea, wherever. But please, you check, you do the research for your country. But this is how to understand and not be surprised when people talk about organized stalking. And do not put them down as paranoid. Okay, this is so much about organized stalking.
So understand she's a credible source. Like the DARPA scientist, obviously he's even more credible than her. He's an actual scientist that works for the people that are doing this program. He's a DARPA scientist, but she's a credible source as well. She's a doctor and an analyst, and it seems to me like she might be targeted as well. I don't know if she hasn't said so, but looking at her background, it looks like she's being, trying to shield off and protect herself. So I'm assuming she's targeted as well. I don't think she would be talking about this like this and giving this information if she weren't targeted. You would never see a gang stalker doing this type of video. So obviously she's targeted. Anyways, guys, let me see how long this video is. Oh God, 2 hours. I don't even know if I'm gonna keep this up. I'm gonna post it, guys. But likely I'll be recreating the video, a shorter version where I do less talking. I'll do commentary, of course, but less talking. I am gonna post this video. And I'll likely just in the description box put the timestamp of when I actually shared the video, so that you can just go straight to the video, and not hear all of my talking if you don't want to. Even though I do give good information, I would like you to hear what I have to say. Sometimes I do a little bit too much talking, and so this video is longer than what I wanted. So likely I'll create it again, with the clip of her speaking. But for now, I'm gonna post this video just as is. So thank you for tuning in, guys. I just wanted to show you even more evidence that this targeting is amping up. Because this is from like 7 years ago. You can imagine what's happening now. The interview with the DARPA scientist is from 8 months ago. So it's getting worse and worse. You're having more and more cases happen. And now it's to the point where they're letting their scientists do interviews and talk about this shit. So it's really getting to those times where they're going to be using it on everyone. So it's really scary. Anyways, I'll talk to you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in. Peace out.